Sorry about that, everyone. We seem to have a little bit of technical difficulty. We're having just a little bit of weather moving in, and I don't know if that affected it, but again, apologies. Only lost a minute there. Um, so let's take a look at what we got. So, again, we were discussing what is your favorite flavor of wind splitter? Okay. Is it a street bike? Is it a dirt bike? Snowmobile? Jet ski? How about a quad? I don't know. I like quads are pretty cool. I don't really have a favorite. I don't ride them that often. Let's see. I do get the question all the time. Um, what's your favorite motorcycle? Well, that seems to cover an awful lot of bases. What is your favorite motorcycle? Well, let's see. Not really into the sidecar machines so much. Um, let's see. What do we got going on? What are you doing to me, buddy? Oh, everything seems to be going haywire in the studio today. Maybe we got maybe we got spooks or gremlins or what do we got going? Anyway, back to favorite motorcycle. So for street bikes, it's funny how you get labeled by looks sometimes. Oh, that never happened, right? I remember walking into my brother's gun shop here not too long ago. Uh, that I walked in and there was a chap in there. First thing right out of the gate starts yapping about his favorite brand of bike, street bike. All good, all good. So he gets yakking away, and of course his assumption is that the only bike in the world that I ride is going to be a Harley. I do like Harleys, but I like a lot of bikes. Anything that gets my knees in a breeze, I dig it. So after I let him yak for a while, obviously by then I found out his favorite bike was a Triumph. And he started going on and on how it had been around a little longer than a Harley and they'd never gone out of business and blah, 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 blah. As my brother looked at me and I kind of looked at him, I really wanted to tell him, dude, I built more of those Brit bikes than you probably, well, I don't want to exaggerate, but more than you've owned. Not more than you've seen, but more than you've owned. Literally hundreds. So that leads us to our next question, getting back to wrenching and things in the shop, because it is a fine day to talk shop. So with that, I get a lot of people, or run into a lot of people, I should say. Sometimes I don't really get them because I don't understand where they're coming from, but it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. All right. So what's that, Mortimer? Yeah, you can hear me okay? Okay. Yeah, a lot of weird stuff going on in the studio with cats and kittens. Sorry about that. So, getting back in the shop. So, a lot of people say, well, I built this bike. I built this bike. Okay, cool. Cool. I dig it. I have my idea of building a bike, and other people have theirs. It's all good. But from my perspective, let's think about this for just a minute. The first bike that I got to build wasn't much of anything, but I got it in boxes, or more appropriately, milk crates, which was good because I could use one milk crate flipped over to start building the bloody thing. Anyhow, some of these cats out there, they uh, they say that they built their bike, which is okay. But then we get chatting for a little bit, and again, from my perspective, not really built. basically bolted on a catalog. And there's nothing wrong with it. Did you make your parts? Or did you go to that, I don't know, favorite online marketplace named for that nifty river down south? And that's okay too, because we got a chat in here. Are you trying to say you've never gotten any parts off of Amazon? Yeah, interesting handle there. Have I or we ever gotten parts off Amazon? That would be it. Doesn't everybody have it? I get parts from all over. If I need a little piece of metal, I don't need a 20-foot random bar of something. I go to Online Metals or Metals Depot or Granger or any other of the half dozen industrial sites that I typically use for getting small chunks of metal to make parts. And frankly, when you're starting out, you don't have to make all your parts. Come on, man. But when somebody tells me that they built this bike, I respect it. I respect their perspective, okay? Because I haven't walked a mile in their shoes. Typically because most of the time my feet are too damn big. And in case there's any doubt, let's just clear it up. Yes, I got duck feet, but I am a hell of a swimmer, I got to tell you. All right. So building bikes versus bolting on a catalog. If you want to bolt on a catalog, that's cool. Your goal is to make something yours. Okay? We're just talking about nomenclature, terminology here. So please, chat me up. I'm sitting here waiting for some live commentary. We've got the, do we ever buy anything from Amazon? Absolutely. Now, we also know the limitations and the expectations, I guess, or lack thereof. So, for one of our projects in the shop right now, we have the TX45. It started out life as a 1974 Yamaha TX750. And of course, I'm not a huge silly meters guy, so 45 cubic inch. So it's TX45 now. Anyway, for this particular project, we're doing kind of a motard thing, but more dirt than street. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting build. All the pieces we've collected so far have been pretty cool. We got another good chat here. Let me hit that in just a second. So on that TX45, we got ourselves a set of 2007 XR650 front forks. Freshly rebuilt. The gentleman was good size, so these will be a little bit stiff because the dude really didn't know what he was doing. So one of the things we try to keep with a theme. The theme on this one, or at least the color palette. If you ever come down here, we'll go over all of that when you get to the shop. If you need us to do any building, I'm just saying. Anyhow, so the theme or the color palette is black, red with gold accents, if you will. So we decided to take off the old black boots, or what do they call them now? Gaiters. They look like an accordion, okay? So, Mortimer, we don't have them here, do we? Okay, great. Fantastic. All right. Yeah, we all got the memory of an elephant, a dead one. Okay. So, we wanted to get some red ones. We went on to one of our favorite online marketplaces. And these are ginormous boots, dust boots if you want, or fork boots. And what we got was these wonderful little mini bike boots. So buyer beware, just be careful. So next question we got coming in. What is your favorite part of a bike to fab on? That is a great question. I've done a few gas tanks in the past. Oil tanks are a lot of fun because you can get really creative. There was a guy, this was years ago. There was a guy that showed me, oh gosh, Michigan or Wisconsin, right in that area. The guy was super cool. He would do some aluminum spinning. So the main body of these oil tanks were aluminum. So if you don't know about the art of spinning, please go online and educate yourself. Okay? Spinning is a process, really old school. Yes? Everything's backwards here. All right. So really old school. But what this cat would do, he'd make them kind of tubular. But the end caps, if I remember correctly, they were acrylic. So it was a tube with clear, look like glass, clear ends. Now, typically, you want something tough like a polycarbonate, okay? We're doing something like that. Strength of material is very important. The oil can get kind of warm, 145 degrees maybe, 150. So it can get kind of warm. So the expansion contraction rates of the aluminum versus your plastic, very important. So polycarbonate is good, but once it gets fogged up, it's hard to bring back. You can use those polishers you get at the hard or auto parts store, like they do for headlights. You can try that. But the acrylic, here's the really groovy thing, cats, with acrylic. It's scratched up, it gets foggy, it gets, kind of ugly. You get out your little Burns-matic torch. You just wave it. I set up on end, so it kind of makes a table out of it. Wave the heat over it, and that thing turns that back into the brand new glass. So remember that about acrylic in the future. If you got some piece of see-through acrylic and you want to rejuvenate it, Burns-matic torch. Just wave it over there, and you'll be surprised at the results. Don't overdo it. Like I tell you with everything else in all of our lessons, when you think you need this, start with it. Okay? But that'll rejuvenate that. So oil tanks, I dig doing those because there's so many things you can do with it. Now, fuel tanks. I've done a few of them. I'm not going to say that I'm a real expert at them. Made kind of some nifty ones. But I got to tell you, there was an old buddy of mine that, well, I'm not going to say his name, and I'm not going to tell you what club he was with. Not a 1%er club or anything, but it was kind of a builder's club is what he was in. I don't mean to insinuate anything else. It was with a builder's club, and damn, this guy was creative. Wow, he was sharp. So we were talking about Brit bikes earlier. This guy that was blowing his own horn about his trumpet. See what I did there? Anyway, trumpet, short or slang for triumphs. Well, a lot of the Brit bikes, mainly Triumphs. I'm not sure if the Nortons or the Beezers did it. I think they did. But they would run their oil through the backbone. And they would bring it down and make a nice curved down tube, which was very cool. I always thought that was awesome. And to be quite frank, I never had one that leaked. They had the tubes welded very precisely. Everything was done. The Brits did some pretty nice stuff. So, what this cat would do, he took a lesson from the Brits. So, when we would do a stretch job, sometimes he would use, and he didn't do a lot of these, don't get me wrong, but sometimes he would use the actual tube from a stock Brit bike. Sometimes he would just start from scratch. Because once that oil has been running through metal on a molecular level. Sometimes it's a little harder to weld. You always seem to get contamination. Sometimes it's better just to start with a fresh tube. Well, anyway, so you've seen a couple of the builders, maybe some of these shows like Great Biker Build Off, or some of the bigger personalities back during the long bike era from 99 to 09, maybe in the New York area or the California area or the Florida area. Oh, hell, even Arizona or Texas. But anyway, any of these bigger builders that went on to something like Great Biker Build Off, you might have seen they did a backbone fuel tank. Kind of cool. So I already knew this guy had made a couple of these, but this was the first time that we were actually going to make it out of what looked like a bomb. Okay? We just fashioned it to look like one of those World War II things. Okay? I want to keep repeating that word because I don't know if the powers that be will kick me off for using it, but that's what it looked like. Okay, something out of World War II with a calendar girl on it, and yada yada yada. So he did his typical oil in the backbone. We fashioned up this BO, you know what, encased it. The fuel went in there. Now, if you don't think that's pretty darn cool, and this cat never got to put something like that on Great Biker Build Off or do any of those cool things. There was a reason for that, but geez Louise, that guy creative. And someday, I may try to recreate that because that was just amazing. Little fins and everything. Of course, you got to be a little careful where you place those fins, especially if that B thing is facing forward. You know where the fins are going to be. I'd be a little careful. Okay, let's see. You've seen us do some fender work here. Oh gosh. So as far as fabrication, now typically fabrication is going to lead more to bending, shaping, manually manipulating sheet metal products and other supporting things like angle iron, things like that. And then, of course, the welding part of it. I really enjoy welding. I don't get to do it as much as I used to. And a very dear friend of mine, uh, when we were young, he never got to really get very old because he became a welder. I thought that was the way I wanted to go. Sometimes we would work together on projects. He worked for a company as a welder, and he was very good at it. He would say that I was very good at it too, but he was definitely head and shoulders above me. Anyway, we got called into a job one time doing some tank welding. Now, these are open tanks, so they weren't pressure vessels or vacuum or anything like that, so it wasn't that bad. He got up on top and started welding and then got very ill. Unfortunately, the tanks never got in. So he got gassed. I forget. And yeah, this was a plating place. So they have all kinds of acid. So he got gassed. He led a pretty normal life. He couldn't really exert himself too much. And he was still kind of a young man when he passed away. One of the greatest cats I ever knew. But anyway, um, I do enjoy welding. Um, yeah, that was unfortunate. It didn't sour me to welding. No, that was just an unfortunate thing that happened. So, great question, by the way, on what parts do I like to fab. I like to machine a lot of things. So you'll see that here. You'll see plenty of fabrication too. You're going to see that in the coming days, weeks, and months. But you've seen on the Pale Horse the mount for the ignition switch and the coil. Well, That was all machined on a manual mill. Okay, rotary table, the whole 9 yards. You say, no, no, that finishes are too good. Everything lines up too good. They had to be done with CNC. Well, let me tell you, in my background, I have an extensive CNC background. Okay, into things that a lot of people that program set up and operate them wouldn't even get into. Actually, I worked for many years for a company that built some of the best CNCs in the world. I was very privileged, and it was my honor to work. Anyway, no CNCs. Not till we get the new shop and we actually have a little room so we can actually walk around. So we're working on it. Okay. So we've had a couple of good questions. Let's see. What are some good points? Not to beat this one to death. Let's see. Where are we on time? We're looking good. The difference between assembling and building, I think we hit on that pretty good. Okay. In the coming days, weeks, and months, we're going to go over some in-depth fab, but a lot of in-depth machining too, and some of the basics. So on a lathe, do you know how to set your tool to center? Well, I can teach you something that can take you a minute. I mean, just take you seconds. There's people that struggle with getting their tools on center, and that's with both conventional and CNC. Okay. Lining up your tailstock so you're cutting a bar and it's straight. Kind of important, yeah. Yeah. How about sharpening a drill? Any of you got any questions about machining or fabrication? Hit me up right now. But I got to tell you, I worked for years, and I still do, as kind of a contractor, gunslinger, if you will. Another good question just rolled in. Look at that. We're getting some good stuff tonight, folks. But some of these instructors that they had there, they were smart guys. But I'll be damned. They couldn't sharpen a drill by hand. Some of them could use a little, I won't say the brand name, but it's a very, very good tool for sharpening drills. It's very good. It does 135 split points. It does relief angles. It does a lot of cool stuff. And I'm talking about the guy that owns his own shop, or maybe just has a garage where he likes doing a lot of work and he's got some dull drills. He just wants to sharpen them up by hand. He doesn't want to go out and buy the D brand, which is very good. I don't know. It was just amazing to me that guys that said they'd been in the industry for 20, 30 years couldn't sharpen a drill. Of course, I come to find out that a couple of them really didn't have 20 or 30 years experience. They had 2 or 3, 10 times. That happens. How often have you run into that? All right, time to answer the next one. What was your favorite bike you have been able to work on? Holy crap, nasty. The favorite bike. I have worked on a lot. I have assisted. I've been blessed to be able to assist on some really cool builds. Some pretty big names. Some of those names were in the past. And they're long past now, but man, they were good. And that's back before CNCs and before favorite online marketplaces where, I think they're cool, where you can buy anything you want. Anyhow. Oh, gosh. The favorite bike. Oh, well, let's step back to the earlier part of the show. What is your favorite bike? Okay. So natural assumption, you look at some old road dog like myself. You're thinking, okay, this guy's all Harley. Well, I do like Harleys. Unapologetic. I like the Asian bikes. I like, hell, I've even ridden a few Chinese bikes and a few South and Southeast Asian bikes. Very interesting. Not bad. Some of them, they weren't bad. European bikes, etc. But hopefully this doesn't put anybody off. You asked, I'm going to tell you. What is my favorite all-time bike? The Vincent Blackshaft. Now, Vincent, great company, died an early death. It was unfortunate because they made a great product. They were one of the first bikes to, let's see, what was their torture test? Maintaining 100 miles an hour on this track test. They had multiple riders, just endurance testing. They only stopped for fuel and to change riders. And then they were the first, and these were production bikes. First production bike to be over 150, be able to maintain it until you ran out of gas. I mean, these bikes were amazing. Um, I don't hate on other bikes because that's my favorite. That is my favorite. I did get to tinker on a couple. I've never owned one. I've ridden 4 different ones and a couple of the other models that Vincent made. Just amazing. So you asked, I told you. Uh, the engineering that went into it. Okay. Look back in the day. That the Black Shadow was big time. Okay. Look what else was out there. I mean, my God, toward the end, AMF was coming in. Just they were a MF, all right. But you look at what their competition was, they were just in a whole different stratosphere. Again, my opinion, but if you look up the specs and tech, and I'm a numbers guy, so let's see. I've worked on some really big inch motors back during the long bike era. And a friend of mine decided, yeah, been a long day, guys. A friend of mine decided to start a shop. He asked for my help. So, um, tried to get some good equipment in there for him, and I was helping him. But the thing was, I tried to check him a little bit and say, hey, man, we're getting toward the end of this wave. I've been through a couple of them previously. Yes, I have been around a day or two. Unfortunately, things didn't work out for him. He got in just a little bit too late, but he still was able to get his name out there, and his name is still recognized here and there. Great guy. I wish him well. All right. Let's see. Any cool customs you were working on currently? Gee whiz. Have you seen any of our videos? I got so much crap, so backed up, so constipated, my eyes are turning brown. Come on now, man. I've got so many right now. Let's see. Okay. Cool customs that I'm working on right now. The TX45 that we already talked about, we're making a motard style. Now, the difference between a motard and a super motard is displacement, of course. I think they're both cool. I've always liked the whole concept of motard and super motard. Um, 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 so, with that custom work that we're doing, the dish-sided uh, low tunnel tank, so it barely sits onto the frame, and that's so sharp. We're going to go with a cafe seat on it. Now, the young lad that we got it from, excuse me, sorry, the young lad that we got it from, he got, again, favorite online marketplace purchase, it looks like. He had it on there when we went to pick it up. The concept was there. The product was, so we're going to keep the concept with the cafe, and we're raising it up. We got some real cool Alpha 9 wheels. Again, like I said, we got the front end, or at least the triple trees and forks off of a 2007 CR650, or I'm sorry, XR650 Honda. That'll look really sharp on that 74. We're not messing with the frame. That's the cool thing. This frame has some tactically placed tabs where we're going to put an upswept exhaust on this thing. Maybe a little flat. I'll give you a little hint. Maybe some little flapper exhaust. It's going to be very interesting when this is done. And it's not a thrown together mess. It really isn't. We're going to see how everything works together. We're going to have the slight turnout. We're going to make the manifolds here for the carburetors. We're going to have slight turnouts because the battery goes from side to side. But we're turning the battery box sideways, so it goes forward and aft. We need a little room, so we're going to have the carbs coming out at probably a 30-degree angle-ish. The cool thing about the tank is it's got twin ports. So one port feeds each carb. Kind of neat. All these, when I build something, okay, the whole thing is done. There's plenty of wow factor. Don't get me wrong. Plenty of wow factor. But a lot of the stuff is subtle. You're going to walk up here, oh, wow, look, this, and this. But then as you keep walking around it, you keep seeing these little subtle things. I like subtle. Yeah, there's wow, and then there's the undertone. So things like the back wheel. We got the largest sprocket for that guy we could get. Now, we don't plan on going 100 miles an hour on the highway with this thing. With that sprocket, I'll be surprised if we hit 55. But that'll be okay. That'll be okay. Like I said, motard meets cafe, and then a little chopper through it. I think you're going to like the end product. You'll like each step along the way. Please catch us on handlebarlife.com. I think you're going to like it. Get over there to school. You might learn a thing or two. That's another thing about school. We try to fashion it so we have the basics, then we work in intermediate, and we have some techie stuff in there too. Like, how do you take a unitized speedo and tack from I can't remember, it's late 70s, early 80s Harley, and make that work on a TX 750 when you're changing out the front wheels too. So how do you make all that work? Well, I'm glad you asked. Come and visit us on handlebarlife.com or see us over at school. You'll find out. Okay. Other projects we're working on? Well, we've got a full rebuild from when a lady in a suburban on a bright sunny day decided the brakes were overrated and ran me over. Seriously, cats and kittens, there's an old cliche. There's a biker, street biker. You either have been run over or you will get run over. You have dumped it, you have, maybe, okay? I don't wish that on anybody, okay? I want you to have a long and happy life. Just pay attention when you're out there and please be careful. Let's see. So, yeah, that's on the Phoenix Rising project. That is a full and total rebuild. I think maybe for some of those higher classes that we got going, maybe we should just pull that motor and start doing a strip down and rebuild. Oh, hell, let's bore the cases and really get a little crazy. You know why? Because they said you couldn't make it. That's just why I want to do it. That's what we do here at the Iron Horse Blacksmith. Okay. All you got to do is say, I was told that this can't be done. Bring it on in. We got you. Bring it on in. Okay. What the heck are you doing up there, Mortimer? Flashing screens over here at me? Okay, I'm getting to it, man. I'm having fun here with the people that are texting. Jeez, man, tough crowd. Okay. Well, let's see, really quick. Oh, the Flashpoint. So we had the naming contest. A young fella back in New York actually won that with Flashpoint. So the Flashpoint bike. We'll use the intake. Now that's fuel injected. All right, so we're probably not going to do a lot with that. But the one thing that we noticed on that particular bike is it's a Thunder Mountain Customs Keystone model. And did a killer job on it. To me, when I look at it, the bike seems like it's set up for sea level. Higher air density, things like that. Well, in the high desert, there's a reason they call it the high desert. We're at a mile plus above sea level. So we're either at a little below or, well, we can be quite a bit above. We do have those pointy things around here. What do we got? 53 of them or something? Somebody text me in and tell me how many 14ers we got. We got a butt ton of them, let me tell you. 14,000 feet. Yeah. They even outgrew their hairline. That's right. Got a lot of that going around. Uh, yeah, there's a tree line that stops before they get to the peak. So yeah, these are nice mountains. But what I'm getting at is, so on this Thunder Mountain Keystone, Thunder Mountain Customs Keystone, they have kind of a restricted air cleaner. So it could be freer breathing. And then they did a 2-into-1 exhaust pipe, which is a whole different torque curve. Let's say a 2-into-2, more or less free flowing, but with baffles, exhaust. So what we're going to do is we're definitely putting a 2-into-2 on that for free flowing exhaust because we got to get it out of there. And we're going to open that intake up so we got as much of this thin ass air flowing in as possible. Because the other thing that they did was they have an open loop system. So there is no oxygen sensor or anything, any feedback saying, hey, I need X amount more air, I need X amount more fuel. Nope, it's just like the choke is partway on all the time. So I'm a carburetor guy. Raises a good question. Carburetors versus fuel injection. We've got both here. I like fuel injection. I like to be able to hit the button and just get rocking and rolling. Works out pretty good. What are your thoughts on carburetors versus fuel injection? Now, granted, I rebuild these things all the time. I know how to tune these things. Make them kind of stand up and dance, if you will. I enjoy doing it. But please chime in and let me know your thoughts on carburetor versus, we've already got a couple hits. Fuel injection all the way. Oh, like kickstart versus electric. Hey! A lot of these little feuds, carburetor versus fuel injection, kickstart versus electric. Going back a day or two, I know this is getting off genre a little bit, but the car wars. Now, a lot of you are thinking, oh, that all started in the 60s. And of course, when anybody thinks of the 60s, they only think of the late 60s. Okay, Ford, Dodge, Chevrolet. Yeah, they had a big time in car war. It was pretty cool. And it polarized a lot of people. It goes back a little further than that. Oh, you're talking about Hudsons and things like that. Well, yeah, 50s, yeah, 40s, 50s. Hudson Hornet, great car. Awesome car. Now I'm going back a little further than that, Cassie. The old advertisements, for any of you from Yorba Linda, the advertisements for those used to go something along the lines of, oh, you must be nuts to drive a Stutz, and there's nothing worse than driving a Mercer. Yeah, it goes back to Stutz, the Bearcat, and the Mercer, which was basically a race car. They strung some lights on and put out on the street. Back in them days, going fast in those machines, and a guy that likes to go fast, that was kind of a death wish. Most people didn't know it at the time, but yeah. So, anyway, if you think the car war started in the 60s, you're off more than you know. Oh, what did the ads look like on TV? You're still thinking 60s. No. Little Orphan Annie was telling us to drink our Ovaltine, and Dick Tracy and his secret decoder watch with Moon Maiden and all that. Yada, yada. Different era. Okay. So, hit me. That was a good comment, though, because carburetor versus fuel injection is kind of like the old kickstart versus electric. Now, obviously, my first machine was powered by Maytag, and it was kickstart. Anyhow, oh gosh, several of the machines that I had were kickstart or rolling start. Sometimes, especially when your foot would slide off and they'd nail you like in the Achilles or maybe up a little further on the calf. Yeah. Kids today, yeah, they don't know the pleasure of having your Achilles nailed by a kickstart lever. So, hit me up. What's your thoughts? The TX45 project. It was in the crossover years when they had a combo of kickstart and electric start. It was pretty cool. You had the option. If you were trying to impress somebody, yeah, you could kick it over. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. The Yamaha 750, I'm not really sure what the compression is, but it's not like the old 93s and 95s that we used to build out of a lot of shovel heads. A lot of compression. Man, they could hurt. And if you were diminutively challenged, shall we say, you were light or small, yeah, they could launch you. Yeah, not a good evening, especially if you had a few in you. Anyhow, good stuff. Keep it coming. All right. So the differences between assembling and building, we went over that. The first time that you tore into a motor. Oh my goodness. Luckily for me, and I was very young at the time with the whole Maytag situation. Oh, gosh, what was the name? Oh, okay. So we're starting to get into real motors at this point in time. So I don't know how many of you may remember the snow machines that were coming out. Snow machines were actually being adopted or manufactured by a lot of your outboard motor companies. Mercury, Johnson, Evinrude. A little bit later, even AMF came out with, well, their first rendition was uber ugly. But by the time they got into the 70s, and it didn't have a real long life, the ones from the 70s with the slant noses were looking pretty good. They were kind of neat looking machines. They kind of caught up with everybody else at the time. So, again, the first engine I tore into would have been one of those little lawnmower type engines as we look back today. I'm not sure if it was a Clinton or a Tecumseh. I can't remember which was first. But I remember the Pontiac and Tecumseh partnership going on back then. But there were a lot of manufacturers of that type of small engine. And a lot of similarities. Once you tore one apart, put it back together successfully, frustration builds until you get past that point. Past the point where it was almost starting. And I did say past the point, which means it started. All that frustration seems to be like a fart in the wind. Okay, that was good. First one, yeah, it was one of those. But as we went forward, more modern. Let's see, it was this. Yeah, it was a snowmobile engine. The first, not like lawnmower mini bike type engine. It would have been a snowmobile overhead valve. You know, before that it was a side valve. Um, Always had a great appreciation for the side valves. Seemed like they just went forever. Not high on horsepower or anything like that. I mean, I had a couple of flathead V8s and a couple of hot rods. Those were cool. Let's see. And I've rebuilt several boat motors. Those were always very interesting. And then when I went to four-stroke on a boat motor, again, very interesting. Trying to think of the first true motorcycle. I want to say God, it was either a Norton or a BSA. It wasn't even a trumpet. It was a Beezer. First one was a Beezer, and then a Norton, then a trumpet, and a lot of trumpets over the years. And then, of course, we made a couple of those Tritons. They were pretty cool. Half Norton, half Triumph. Those were pretty cool. All right. So you do all that. You get frustrated. You get worried. Did you forget anything? I I was always anxious. I wanted to get the, and as soon as it was where I thought it was together, I wanted to kickstart it or get it started. Um, I learned. I learned over the years, and it's still hard for me because as soon as I think it's there, I want to go. But I've learned to go eat lunch, maybe sleep on it overnight. Sometimes you just think about things. What'd you forget? But yeah, very frustrating until, especially if somebody comes walking up on you when it fires up for that first time. That doesn't put a smile on your face. Better check the old pulse. Okay, let's see. Sorry about that. Let's see what else. Oh, okay, getting back to that. So there was a preacher man. He had a trumpet. It was a TR 25. I may be misremembering that, but it was a. The point is, it was a little 251 long. I thought it was cool. Anyway, he wanted me to get it going. Okay, so we had this hill. This was a Kickstarter. It hot and humid. All right, when you're a bigger guy, not a great mixture. So I took this thing up to the top of this hill. Actually, I even think I had him drop me off because we put some fresh gas in it, yada yada. Got up there, started down this hill, tried to bump start a couple times, and it was kicking over, and it was trying. And then it finally took off. And man, that thing was nice. Now, did I look like a gorilla on a tricycle? Maybe. But man, that was cool. And I'm going down this hill, and I'm getting to where it kind of has a, I don't know, weird T and then goes onto a main road. And I realized that it was kind of short, no brake department. And then the throttle hung. Yeah. Let me tell you, that was some fun times back then. I had enough mental clarity to turn the fuel off and was able to use my feet. It was a small, light machine, thank goodness. Anyway, I negotiated my way onto the main thoroughfare, and it was still hot enough. Fed it some fuel, and away we went again. Throttle hung again. Shut off the fuel. Turned. Got down the side street. Going along. Everything was fine. Throttle hung again. Got to get it onto another main thoroughfare. Well, anyway, I ended up fixing that for the preacher, man. But I got to tell you, these are the stories that you build over a lifetime. So when I get a little preachy myself and say, get your eye, ugh, yeah, get your eye on the ball. Yeah. Two words, eye and ass. I'm not going there. All right. Get your ass off the couch and do something. Anything. Walk the dog, for Pete's sakes, but build your story. Don't let your story end with your thumbs. Capiche? Oh, here's a good one. All right. Jobs that went sideways. How many of y'all out there have had jobs that have gone totally sideways in the 11th hour? Well, I can tell you that I've literally had those go that way because, again, when we get back to talking about builds, and my God, there is a lot of things. Mortimer, I'm sorry, we can save half of this stuff for next week. And I apologize for that. But there's a lot of things we didn't get to. So let's touch on this real quick and we'll blast through a couple things, but we are going to run out of time. So, the 11th hour. We got talking about builds versus bolting on a catalog. I don't like to get into those discussions, but built a lot because I wanted to, and then necessity as well. But I remember this particular build. I got these two Triumphs, and this one guy, I don't know where he got them from. Got them for, let's go back a day or two, but I got them for $100. They were in a whole bunch of egg crate, no, milk crates. Anyhow, they had a 68 and a 69. You'd be surprised the difference there. Yes, Whitworth threads, definitely. I was hoping for a non-unitized. I really like non-unitized Brit bikes. They were so much fun to build. You put a modern 6-speed behind them, and granted, they don't have the grunt of some of these big inch bikes that we're building today, but they're just fun. All right. So building these bikes, I ended up trading off one to a good buddy of mine who also liked Brit bikes. But it was funny the differences. Fine thread versus coarse thread. I mean, just 1 year difference. And yeah, broke a bolt on 11:30 at night. Well, good for me. I've been doing this a day or two. So without, back in those days, those things called easy outs, which are a godsend, kind of didn't exist. So just had to figure it out. Get the broken bolt out. Oh, got a bolt over here that's too long. Oh, we shorten that up. We use that. Okay. Yeah. How many Whitworth bolts have a lot of you got laying around your garage? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Budget reality versus dream build. We've all been there. Hell, I've been there. Budget reality. There was times when I just had to have something to get to work. I had a family to feed. You kidding me? Yeah. So reality can set in hard and fast. But there's a lot of cool things. That's why we try to give you skill. That's what the whole ethos of the handlebar life is about. Not just about the adventures, but also about transfer of knowledge. Now, we do that a lot over on the school site. School site is cool. But we try to transfer some of that skills or some of that skill set over to you all so that maybe you don't have the money to build a long bike chopper that those guys in New York or Cali or Florida can build. All right. You don't have the money to have them do it, but we try to give you the skills and which will eventually purchase you the pride. Okay. Pride is like a lot of things. You got to earn it by doing. Like respect. It can take you a lifetime to earn and just a minute to lose. Okay. But we want to give you the skills so you won't lose those. No, no. You got that brother-in-law that comes over and borrows tools out of your toolbox. Well, here's a tool I'm trying to give you that he can't take away. So if you do want to build one of those really cool works of art out of New York, Cali, or Florida, I'll try to help you get there. Try to give you the skills to do it. Um, Now, what they build is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, a lot of it doesn't fit within our budgets. So, again, trying to give you skills. So, depending on where your budget is, if it's just a point of pride, maybe you just want to put on a pair of shocks. You want a cool set of shocks going on your bike. Maybe it's a hardtail. I like hardtails. My tail don't like a hardtail so much anymore, but I like hardtail. But yeah, all these little things. Yeah. If you have knowledge and skills, a tool that nobody can take away. Okay. Uh, okay. Be honest. How many of you have a half-finished project sitting somewhere? Spare room, garage, back of your van. Yeah, I've been down that road. Uh, so, we're starting to peter out on the text. That's too bad. We've been having a little fun this evening. Let's see. Let those comments roll, please do. Oh. Almost done here. Almost done. We're gonna probably go on for another 5 or 10. Yep, another 10. Okay. Okay. That is a very good question. What is the hardest repair that you've ever tackled? That is a good one. The hardest. Flathead, 43. Started off the whole bike with just a pair of cases. The cases sitting around a while. Had a good buddy of mine, worked night shift at a local factory. It's like, hey man, I got just the thing that'll make those castings all just wow, bright, shiny. Okay, all right. He glass bead blasted, no masking. Yeah, that was a high pucker. All right, let's see. Not a true repair, but enough work. Let's see. Had one in the shop a couple of years back. Guy Sportster. Remember, we're in the high desert. Brings it in. Just kind of wanted an assessment, see what I could do to just kind of get him rolling for the moment, and then give him a lowdown on what he needed. Needed a complete rewire. Well, we did some stuff to get it started and going. Told him to keep it home. He could do the rewiring himself. I mean, it was a stock Sportster. It wasn't difficult. It really wasn't. Just literally follow the instructions that come with a kit. Well, he decided to go to one of our local bike get-togethers. Caught that bugger on fire. So, in the aftermath, we tried to do the best we could, helping him out. But again, cubic dollars. Yeah. So, wiring issues, don't let them go. I'm trying to think. I've had some where I've had to get deep into things. Cracking cases on Sportsters is never fun, but there's a process to it. If you're diligent, cracking cases on anything with a unitized transmission in it, it's just a process. So just be diligent each step of the way. Either an online is a great source for it. Have yourself a checklist. Make sure you're checking it off as you go along, because you don't want to be last night of the build waiting for somebody to come by to pick it up or fire it up. And you think, well, did I forget that? inconvenient. Had a guy trade me some Yamaha Kawasaki mid-size cruiser bike for something. I think it was a 650 or 750. No, 650. Yeah. So funny thing was, same shop that two of us worked at, there was a third cat that said, "Hey, if you ain't gonna do anything with it, I'd like to buy it off from you." Oh, okay. Come on out. Now I hadn't really done anything with it. He came out, took it down the road, and it was really, I'm sorry, but in the Northeast, it can get not only hot, but bloody humid. Now, it doesn't, temperature wise, it doesn't get quite as hot as out here in the high desert, but at least it's dry. That poor son of a biscuit, he came back just dragging tail. It had conked out on him. So we went and got it. We, we took care of him. Poor guy. Let's see. What has stopped you from finishing a build? Completely? Like just whether it is the wow factor or certain people knowing my name and reputation. This happened back in the Northeast more than it happened out here in the high desert. But it's happened here two times now. We've been out here, what, 15 years? All right, so it's happened a couple times out here. I don't get done with the build. Somebody wants to buy it. Okay. Okay. We go over what we've done, what we know that needs still to be done, and then to make it their own, we go over, what would you like? What's your vision of the finished product? And, we can steer you down that road. So, another little service that we offer, Cats and Kittens, is we're not afraid to name names. We're all in this together. So if you're going to build or fab something and you want to know a source for something, okay. Like I said, Online Metals or Metals Depot, Granger. Oh, there's a few others online for getting short pieces of material. You can also hit up some of your hardware stores and some of your home improvement places for some of those things. Think out of the box. All right. Well, I've seen X, Y, and Z, so it has to be exactly that. Buffalo feathers. It does not have to. No. Believe me, I've been doing custom since I was a runt. Okay. Kind of forced into it. Love finished product. I just hate the journey. All right. When people say, "Hey, I want to get into custom," no, you don't. You think you do because you watched all those 1 hour shows and think it's might be easy. Run, run. All right. Yep. So that's typically why I wouldn't finish a build. Um, we've got some builds that have hung around a long time. Let me tell you, because that's the nature of the beast. Remember we were talking about cubic dollars? Sometimes life has higher priorities you got to take care of. We've all been there. Oh, okay. What bike changed your life? That is a very good question. European dirt bikes. So much different than the Asian offer. I like the Asian dirt bikes. Really do. They're cool. They're easy to work on. They got a lot of ass. Learning the whole power band thing was kind of interesting at first, but they're well constructed. They're good looking. But the European stuff, I don't know what it was about it, but it was just so interesting and just raw. So the way that I looked at things, any kind of wind splitter, street bike, dirt bike, snowmobile, jet ski, quad, didn't matter. If it was a wind splitter, that affected my perception. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay. So to answer your question, this show isn't just about motorcycles. Now, does it seem like it's predominantly about that stuff? Right now, it does. We've got some builds coming in that you're going to find very interesting because they don't have those donut shaped sneakers on them. Imagine that. It's really not. Had one person ask not too long ago, do you guys do anything besides choppers? Yeah, we do. All right. So this show is more about cats and kittens that refuse to be spectators. Okay. Maybe your thing is snow machines. Here in the high desert, we've had skiing in July. Um, yeah, we've got the mountains like right here. Within half an hour, we can go from triple digit heat to snowmobiling, to water sports, to ice skating. We've got hot springs. We've got little lakes. I guess they just couldn't figure out how to make real lakes. So, yeah, about cats and kittens. It's about that refuse to just be a spectator. It's about character. All right. Look, bottom line, I don't care if you just bolt on a bunch of parts. That's up to you. If you create and fabricate them, it's your choice. It's up to you. Whether you prefer a Stutz or a Mercer, it's up to you. Just do something. All right. So you got a bike, a dirt bike, a street bike, snowmobile, jet ski, whatever. Do something to it. Stock sucks. Um, Back in the day, you know my history. I worked on a lot of Brit bikes. When working on Brit bikes, definitely wasn't cool. I was very fortunate geographically. Um, had a British motor car dealer. Learned a lot in there. Okay, so back then, some people would be diligent on their preventive maintenance. Some people wouldn't because they didn't understand the machine. It was unfortunate. Unfortunate things happen when you don't maintain them. So go change your spark plugs. Not sure how. Maybe you got one of those Milwaukee 8s, dual plug heads. I can't tell you how many bikes that I've machined that second plug and make dual plug heads out of. But all right, so you got a Milwaukee 8. And a lot of them, you got to pull the fuel tank, right? So go change your plugs. Learn how learn how to disconnect the tank on your fuel injected Milwaukee 8. It really is simple. There are so many little tricks to this. I'll try to teach you anything and everything that you want to know. If I don't know, I'll find out for you and I'll pass it on to you. Because believe me, Nobody knows it all. And even if you knew something, sometimes it does have a little bit of a shelf life. You forget. All right, let's see. All right, if you're in the middle of something hard, a build, a business, a comeback. Yeah, yeah. Believe me, cats and kittens, I've been around just a day or two, and the bobber, the chopper, the long bike, yeah, they were great waves to ride. Oh, just FYI, I do enjoy surfing. Of course, I don't heal as quick as I used to, but anyhow. So I've been around a day or two. I've seen these things kind of not come and go because they're always around. Everybody has their favorites. Comebacks are tough, man. They are. Some people remember you and it's like, where have you been? Some people look at you and like, who are you? Painful. All right. So bike builds once you start, or say you're changing your plugs. Here's one piece of advice I'd really like you to follow. Don't quit in the middle. The middle is typically ugly, whether you're doing a full on build or you're changing your fluids. You're doing a 3 fluid change, you're doing a 2 fluid change, you're changing fluids in your machine. You're changing a spark plug. Try this out. Change your plug wires, your spark plug wires. Change your spark plug wires. All right? What color is your bike? The overall theme, the main color. What color? Order up some Taylor. Now they've gotten a new name, but Taylor wires. Please get the fatties. You know, the 10.8, the 12 point whatever millimeter. Get the fatty. Make them look good. Then install a new set of plug wires. All right. Don't forget, back in the old days, we used to use a little bit of Vaseline for this, but now they have electrolytic grease, like bulb grease. All right. Put a dab in there before you put it on, because if you live in a hot environment like we do out here, that rubber or silicone not so much, but boots, especially when they were rubber, used to suck onto that ceramic and you would just play hell not ripping a boot in half as you're trying to pull it off the plug. All right. So, interesting. Steel doesn't bend without wind. Oh, steel doesn't steel doesn't bend without heat. Do you? Well, I'm not really sure how to take that. I try to be pretty flexible. There's an old adage about the mighty oak and the mighty pine. Anyhow, well, let's see. Okay. Any other questions coming in? Okay. That's an interesting one. Electric motorcycles. I think this is the last one we'll take today, and then your old grumpy Viking here has to go get himself a coffee. And so, electric motorcycle. Future or funeral? That's a very good question. Well, with mandates that came out of the swamp, and I really don't like getting political on our wind splitter shows, but with all the nonsense that came out of trying to be, yeah, I know it's unusual for me. I'm trying to be nice. I know I got a reputation to live down to. Don't let the word get out. But after that 4 year halftime show, worst halftime show of all time, brought to you by Joe Biden and company, in between the 2 years of Trump, No, I'm not getting political, and I don't want to see them. I don't want to see it. Hit me up another time when we are talking politics on a different show. But those mandates that came out for all the electric vehicles, we all lived through it. Come on, really? It was only 4 out of the last 5 years. It wasn't that long ago. But electric motorcycles, just like the electric cars, we're just not ready for it yet. You make a mandate saying that all manufacturers have to do this. Well, God bless America, he almost broke them. Washington, stay out of our bedroom. Stay out of our vehicles. Okay. Yeah, I see a few more comments coming through. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Um, so until next week, this is a Handlebar Life. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Um, so with that, I am going to wish you all a good night. And Michael Parks, we sure do miss you. Bronson would say, hang in there. Always remember and please never forget. Live the adventure. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words. Until next week, y'all have a good one.